And hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Twitch chat of all ages. Welcome back to Mother Russia. Now, I'm filming this on Friday, what date is it? The 21st. The last part of the Betov series has gone up, and now we're going back to the past, if you will. It's election year, 1965, once again. The people of Russia are gearing up for election season, an idea once unthinkable, scant decades ago. Now it's up to the Russian people to decide the fate of their nation and their leaders. Political parties, both big and small, are preparing their supporters and their backers across the nation. Thousands of volunteers, campaign staff, and candidates make ready to depart to the rallies, tours, speeches, and debates that will dominate the headlines for the coming months. Candidates will be scrutinized, issues debated, and at the end, millions of voters will be able to make their voices heard by the powers that be. Maybe not last time because we did a lot of voter suppression, but this time, we're definitely doing that. So, we're of course going for the LPR. So, no Pavel Betov. Instead, we're going to be going ahead and adding fledgling democratic institutions. Preparing the apparatus of government for a transition into democracy is no easy task. Not only does one have to alter the functions of previous bureaucracies and departments and their respective systems of appointments, but one also has to create entirely new institutions in order to accommodate the new forms of government. These are institutions like a national congress and an independent judiciary, responsibilities and functions previously handled by the military to be divorced from the executive and redistributed amongst these institutions. It's hard work setting up a new government, but ultimately worth it. Oh yeah, I still have the advantage in the southern Urals, luckily. So, we can go ahead. I can campaign in a couple places. It looks to me like the Trans-Urals might be a good place to try to pick up some ground. Oop, someone got kicked out for spamming caps. My apologies. We're still trying to figure out the new tweaks of a new Nightbot. And, should be back in 5 seconds. We should probably be back now already. So, let's go ahead and hunt down some bandit holdouts. And we also encourage some minority voting. I think we'll do that, and then we'll check to see what we got regional development-wise. Army professionalism, Let's do some of that. A little bit of that, too. And it's time to unpause, guys. Let's get to it. Pavel Betov sat in his office here, happy to finally get some peace and quiet. A lot had changed the past few years, and he had seen himself jump from general all the way to becoming marshal of the entire West Siberian district. With his new responsibilities came new challenges as well. The unification of a region that remained divided for a year wouldn't be easy. Administrating a region 5 times larger than was previously controlled by the military district proved to be a real challenge for district's garrisons in Betov's rule. Yet that wasn't even half of what Betov had on his hands. Administrating was one thing. Integrating areas controlled by different warlords was very different. Ideologies from ours was no easy feat. Betov knew a lot of hard work had to be put before West Siberia can truly appear united. As well as the difficult political situation, Betov also faced a problem of a destroyed economy. West Siberia had also been wrecked by the constant wars since the last decade. Large funds would need to be put into reconstruction so our economy can even compare to our rivals on the border. As well as all the problems of uniting West Siberia has brought to the table, the democratic movement led by Yeltsin has also been gaining more and more support. The people will begin to favor a more democratic government as the region stabilizes. Elections may need to occur, but Betov wants to move forward into a democratic government or legitimize his rule. Lastly, the death of Rokozovsky has put a lot of pressure on Betov himself. He would have to work in the legacy of Rokozovsky to take control of Western Siberia and strengthen the district enough to finally claim all of Russia. It was all Betov had to do if he wanted to be the second great Marshal, but he had to start somewhere. The legacy of Marshal is in his hands. Let's see if he fucks it up or not. We're doing pretty much everything we can right now. Battle for Italia. I like how you're democratically campaigning, meanwhile Nazi LARPers and commies are fighting over passive mountains. Yeah, shit. I mean, the Nazi LARPers almost won last time. In fact, it looks like they're making a couple pushes, so I think I said, we'll have the front in for the last video. And if it looks like the Aryan Brotherhood is starting to win, or starting to lose, we'll, help out the AB. Encourage some mutinies, perhaps, if you guys get my drift. Start campaigning in the Urals. We're doing all the campaigning we really can right now. Campaigning with Trans-Urals. There we are. Oh, you mean the warlord states. We can't do that until we finish up our political tree, I believe. So we'll get working that as soon as we can. The only option we have right now, though, is, well, these two. And then after the elections are done, then we go through with it. But until then, gunfire filled the bandit hideouts as Zahar's squadron surrounded the last bandit, not wanting to go down without a fight. This bandit hideout had been troublesome for the district, raiding villages and farms across the territory. Taking Zahar's troops months to track it down. In a fight, though, the bandits were no match for the Third Army. Zahar, leaving cover, opened fire once again. A hit. The bandits went down, blood splattering the walls. That was the last of them. Most of the bandits surrendered on sight, not wishing to fight the more heavily armed Third Army. Those that fought back got what they fucking deserved, as a certain movie character would probably say. Ordering his men to clear out the bodies and the wounded, Zahar scanned the rest of the room one more time just to make sure no bandits were left hiding. There were no bandits left, but Zahar did find a lot of valuables. Jewelry, money, precious vases, and even a few paintings littered to rooms of the bandits. One thing stood out to him, though. A doll, probably belonging to a young girl. Were the bandits really that cheap? Just to take a doll from a little girl? While he knew his men would love to keep all the riches themselves, the Third Army had a duty and was to serve the Russian people. Some of these were probably the only precious goods some people owned. Zahar would make sure that they would return to their rightful owners no matter what. Especially the doll. The Third Army exists to protect the people, not to rob them. So these are a lot of these same events, so I'm wondering if I actually need to read them, or if I should just leave them be. Got fledgling democratic institutions. Next, let's go ahead and decide the future. The day of a referendum has arrived. Men and women across the nation mark time with bated breath as they await the results. Laborers from the factories and mines sit at the bars, drinks in hand, listening intently to what the radio announcer has to say. A group of young students wait in the Capitol Square for the inevitable announcement on loudspeakers. Soldiers in their barracks sit in groups, patiently waiting for their captains to return from high command and bring the news. A nation sits on edge as a government bureaucrat tallies the votes and recognizes the victor to be, hopefully, our guy. Let's campaign a little bit in the, do we have enough time to do that? We don't really, so there's no point. Let's steal the Black League remnants. We got some new equipment to start building. So let's get working on that. Free military factories. That works. So chat, how are you guys doing? It's been a while since we recorded one of these series live. End of South African War. That certainly isn't nice. That the war had to happen, I should say, I guess. Let's see. Oh yeah, we're doing pretty well. Overall, I think we're gonna do very well. General ceasefire. Is there a command to trigger the war in Finland so we can take what they took from us? I think only in the West there's that option, so we have to wait for these guys to figure out their shit. trial of Dmitry Yazov. Go ahead and do that. And then we can get working on some more industry. Build some stuff in Kurgan to start. And then, well, one in Omsk. A console command. I'm not quite sure. That is not something I've had to deal with before. A lot of my games, I realize, I spend a lot of time playing TNO in West Russia. And so I can just take Karelia pretty easily on my own. Campaign for elections has ended, and today is when the voting will begin. Polling stations have been set up in every city across West Siberia, and once voting is completed, West Siberia will finally have an undisputed leader. Some more Depatov, using his power, will turn the elections in his favor. However, it does not appear that way, as the voting seems pretty fair across the board, at least in terms of a newly founded democracy. Some have complained the government has not gone far enough to implement a fair democracy. Both still have a chance to win. There's no expecting who will come out on top. However, Yeltsin does win. There's no expectation of the military just giving up control of the country. But Patov and his army will try to keep as much influence as possible in Siberia, no matter who wins. Or at least for our elections. And there we are. The results are in, and Yeltsin and the Democrats have secured victory for a large majority in elections. It appears the people have spoken, and the military junta will soon be on its way out. Military control over government buildings is already beginning to decline as a civilian government replaces military control. Martial law is also being enacted across the Ural district as the military relaxes its authority. Although a civilian government replaces a military one, a lot will change. A more civilian-styled government will no doubt shift the focus towards civilian issues. However, the military will still remain powerful and influential in the government. Democratization will continue whether the military likes it or not, though, and more freedoms will become within reach of every person in the Urals. Yeltsin has many plans for Urals in Russia. Whether he sees them through remains to be seen. Congratulations, President Yeltsin. There we go. We're not a nice blue color now. I like this shade of blue for Russia. I think it works. And then we got the new flag and a new fella in charge, Boris Yeltsin. Sometimes there are good uses for a tiger. An apex predator able to pursue its prey with a perseverance only rivaled by bloodlust. The fascism unleashed fears in the Urals accidentally setting loose a depraved man who left nothing but violence in his wake. Sverdlovsk's tiger, however, hails from a different breed, and unlike the Germans, his leash shall be short and stiff. Boris Nikolaevich Yeltsin is an ideological man in a notoriously non-ideological state, advocating an aggressive economic policy of privatization, the rapid expansion of democracy, and a swift reunion of Russia. It is zeal and dedication that leads him from relative obscurity to the leadership of the democratic faction in Sverdlovsk. However, while he might be eager to implement his new vision and useful in our quest to end this Russian anarchy, like any tiger, he must be kept in check. Pavel Batov remains keenly aware of the eagerness of Yeltsin's policy as well as the less savory methods he uses to achieve it. Thus, he has vowed to ensure the military holds equal sway in the new republic. Yeltsin must walk a tightrope, balancing the conservative militarists against his own aggressively republican tendencies. The war for Russia is not yet won, and it remains to be seen if such a task is feasible at all. Yet, were he to succeed, Russia will surely be stronger for it. Perhaps no less cruel in its policy, but a free, aggressively capitalistic republic nonetheless. Okay, so we have Yevgeny Primakov, backroom backstabber, a little hit to political power, but the reduction in consumer goods is nice. We got Ivan Silayev, not bad, not important for us. We got an industrializer. The construction speed is nice. Reduction of consumer good factories is nice. Resource gain efficiency, nice. The hit to political power, not very nice, but I'll take it. Group population, same deal. And then old Pavel Batov is back. And that's not a bad bonus overall to take. And so here we are. We got a new different tree for Yeltsin. Sorry, I had to take a sip of water. Let's go ahead. I want to look over some of these real quick. Not bad. Let's do a victory for democracy. West Siberia is not known to light of liberty for quite some time. Ruled first by Kazanvik's fanatic communists, the region quickly dissolved into three-way tensions between them, the Black League's extreme revanchists, in our own state, which has had its own sorrowful history of authoritarianism. The difference, of course, is that our own regime has been controlling more out of necessity than ideology. Now that the Urals are peaceful at last, there's no need for such a tight hand. Marshal Batov has decided to begin the handover of power to a civilian government, with trusted politician Boris Yeltsin at the head of the West Siberian Republic. Yeltsin has a reputation for an advocacy of economic reform, and the region can expect a loosening of political and market restrictions alike under his reign. There we go. Let's do it. A victory for democracy. The Civil War in Indonesia's done. Let's get training up some guys. Akitobi is one. Typical. The IRA stepped down. I think I see that more often than not. Germany is doing their thing. And it looks like this is the same event as last time. So, I'll pause right now for the YouTube people if you guys want to reread it again. Just because I've read it in the Batov series, and I assume most of you have watched that already. I'll let you guys read that. And that's probably good. Pause if you haven't finished, because I'm skipping it now. A monster finally put down. Bam. Oh, we can go ahead and check. Oh, yeah, this was a pretty easy victory for us. Big time. Go figure, in the city formerly known as Sverdlovsk, now Yekaterinburg? I'm not sure how you say that, actually. Everywhere else, this is the only place where the military junta won. Everywhere else, it was a sweep. My God. It's almost impressive. How much we crushed it. There. We'll get hunting down some communists. And we'll get moving towards the victory for democracy. We'll check the economics. Polling's updated, which is interesting because, you know, the election's already done. I wonder what boosts are if you peacefully annex Kazakhstan. I don't know. I'm curious about that myself because I've never had it happen. The crowds were silent at first as the banners were raised and the trumpets blared. Then the din came. It started small as the troops stood to attention, and the members of Yeltsin's selected cabinet came to the podium. It rose as Pavel Batov entered and took a seat in the front. Then finally, it roared as Boris Yeltsin, the first president of the republic, came into view. With his right hand on his heart, the president stood through the anthem motionlessly. Silent as a mouse as the patriotic songs blared and the crowd's roar continued, before he finally approached the microphone. Dearest friends, today is Today is an auspicious day, not just for our newly founded republic, but for democracy itself. We have come from humble and heroic beginnings to this moment. Let us not forget the heroics or deeds of the past, but let us also look to a brave new future. Hours passed with the president bringing up men and women, soldiers honored for bravery, experts in the multiple fields of governance, and a few personal friends or rich individuals. Thankfully, no one had any complaint to any of this, not even Batov for the time, though there were rumors and rumblings of some partisans across western Siberia that could be handled later. Right now was time for the people of West Siberia to celebrate. Freedom is our top priority after all. Let's check and see what we can do over in regional development. We can do worker training, that's always a good one for the boost. And then probably some army professionalism would be good. I don't think we're going to get the insane bonuses we will to army professionalism, because I believe a lot of those are in the political tree. I think we get a okay amount here, but that's really about it. So, it's good to get working a little bit now towards it. And then from here, well, yeah. Can we counsel them to flip to the Republic of Kazakhstan? I think we need... The only thing that you need, I believe it's Pavlodar to flip to take over for the Republic of Kazakhstan. So I don't know how much we can really do with that. I'm curious, what are our taxes at right now? We have medium taxation and flat taxes. So, it looks like everything is staying the same, actually. A little confusing, but okay. Well, let's go ahead and begin privatization. The military regime has had a tendency of centralizing economic as well as political power around itself, nationalizing a number of key economic sectors, although it never went as far as the communists who preceded it. The result, a number of bloated, inefficient public enterprises, unable to adequately reform or make a profit. Although these may have been necessary during the wartime period, they will not suffice for future economic growth. Reforms are in order. Like use console commands. It's not like the first time you've done it. I'm not sure how you would do it, actually, like that. I'm not quite sure. Privatization and splitting up these behemoths will promote healthy competition and ultimately a more prosperous society, creative potential is brimming beneath the surface, and all it will take to ensure better societies, allowing West Siberia's more entrepreneurial citizens the chance to unleash them. Yeah. The end of election season, there we go. Let's get artillery barrage going. There's also a new stand. Is there? Let's go ahead and get a couple, early fighters. We'll have them go over the southern Urals just in case. I would be kind of interested to see Novopolska win one of these times. They've taken this capital, actually. Look in the steppes areas. Oh yeah, these guys. That's, they started a civil war against Uzbekistan. They just start like that. It starts at the end of I think the very beginning of a game, and I don't think the AI is quite good enough to do much to end this war. So, you know. We can ensure regional Soviet autonomy. Let's do that. That sounds nice. One holder from the communist administrations, the presence of regional authorities that ultimately had very little say in running their locals. Ensuring autonomy for lower levels of government was brushed aside by the military, which felt as though it had greater concerns. A division of authority is an important step in the establishment of democracy. Letting the central government have everything is a surefire way to get to tyranny. President Yeltsin has therefore decided to vest a significant degree of power over taxation, spending, and a wide variety of other duties to the regional Soviets, ensuring that the people have a greater degree of representation than the era where Sverdlovsk bureaucrats made all the decisions. An empowered populace is a happy one, and nothing satisfies the masses like self-determination. True. Gonsal's commands to Novopolska wins. You know what? Fuck it. T to bug. Tag A. Yeah, let's make things fun. Because it's a fun thing. Let's do this, and then should save first. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I know what I'm doing. We'll go ahead and do the same on this front, because I did promise that this time the AB will win. To make things interesting. We'll cancel all these guys. Tag Tobe. T debug. And I guess we'll see who ends up winning. The bat and the AB I get. I'm more mean. Hiding election results. Well, the AB wanted to go for Finland. I might do that too. Let's see. Yep, they're going actually. It's not like the Soviets, where I had to do probably too much to ensure their victory there. Now that we started it for them, they're just going for it. I think I'll wait and see if they actually do need help or not. I'll wait and see that. And let's meet with a marshal. That'll be a good one. The changing of the guard has generated a great deal of consternation within some elements of society. Military officials question the wisdom of opening up society in turbulent times and express skepticism that economic privatization will do anything other than enrich a few profiteers, rather than bolster the national interest. A showdown between Yeltsin's reformers and the military would be disastrous for the Republic. It's for the reason that the current president and former president will be meeting to smooth over their differences. Patov and Yeltsin can be expected to discuss matters of economy, democratization, and the army's role in the new government, with the goal of reaching a compromise satisfactory to all parties. Although hardliners on both sides may grumble at the conclusion reached, all can agree that dialogue is vastly more preferable than bloodshed for resolving our disagreements. We have Niederneustadt over here now. Interesting. Vanished for a bit, but I'm alive. Glad to hear. The Nazi lovers are winning. We had a hand in that. Never seen them unify before. And there we go. The Aryan Brotherhood has won. Let's hope such lunatics don't get much further. The Purified Aryan Brotherhood. They're neutralizing the remnants. I guess we'll see who ends up winning. I think they still have to decide whether they go Hyperborea or Wagner, right? The meeting, despite its officiality and publicity, was actually quite private. The president posed for cameras outside the room, and after a few moments impatiently waiting, the other man arrived. Marshal? Boris Yeltsin greeted with a heavily photogenic but fake grin as Pavel Batov approached the door, seemingly ignorant or at least uncaring of the cameras flashing, the porters eyeing the two men, and their respective entourages filling in. Yeltsin? He replied with a stony expression, tone laden with steel before entering the room ahead of the president, a title which he had apparently forgotten to address. For a brief moment, Boris's expression faded as he took a step to the door, gave a wave to the cameras, and slowly closed it. Right. Now to get this over with. Well, as discussed earlier, the army will be allowed some representation in government. However, should it be found that the army is interfering in the democratic process, if anything, the army would only act against tyrannical abuses of power. Define tyrannical. What followed was something unforeseen to the crowds outside. Fingers were pointed, documents were looked over and rewarded, and Boris and Pavel were at the very center. Finally, after hours of haggling and shouting, the amount of seats the army would retain had been determined along with their status of silent watchdogs, a term which infuriated the president to no end. However, it was better to have an army pledging to defend democracy than one utterly opposed to it. Thus, the groups bid their goodbyes and stepped out of the room into the lighting of camera flashes. But Boris's photogenic smile was tempered by the last thing he heard the marshal say. "We'll be watching you, Yeltsin." I will go ahead and allow that, because yeah, it's I've never seen them win before. other than this. So it's neat to see. Oh yeah, they do. The AI most time doesn't know how to handle them. That's their main issue. Let's codify the Constitution. Up until now, the matter of government was ruled largely by decree. Matters of law and policy were largely the decision of Marshal Batov, and although he was by no means a cruel leader, this meant that decisions were largely arbitrary and sometimes not in the best interest of the people. A government needs to have an agreed-upon set of rules in order to avoid becoming one that rules solely through the imposition of force. That's exactly what Yeltsin insists on doing. The new Constitution of West Siberian Republic will include protections of the basic, vital freedoms of speech, expression, religion, and assembly. It will create defined roles for different sections of government and clarify the relationship between the local and federal governments. Although we may not realize its benefits immediately, this document is the foundation of a democracy that will someday incorporate the entire country. I mean, their tree? Yeah, their tree isn't the best either, with bonuses. They're probably one of the hardest nations you can play as. I'd probably say... I want to see all this names they changed. If they change the name of this... It's interesting. They changed this name over here. A lot of these names are mostly the same, which is a little lame, but so be it. Trial of Kaganovic. We could encourage political thought. A little extra political power would be nice, actually. Let's do that for now. They are going after Finland. Let's see how they do first. That's what I say. Let's see if they actually need help or if the AI will actually be competent. I mean, all things considered, so far so good. They have a non-Aryan military. Extreme Aryan control. They're over-administered. How's America doing? I think they're doing okay last time I checked. LBJ, the more boring path. Welfare of the people. Looks like they're doing stuff. It's going well, all things considered. They might still may don't get Onega. If they do that, then we will step in. But they're pushing in. I think they're just pushing over there. Let's go ahead and select a new focus for now. Let's free the press. No free nation can function without a free press. The press are the fourth estate, a fundamental part of democracy. The press act as a watchdog, exposing corrupt politicians and bureaucrats alike. In years past, the press was kept silent as an attempt to keep morale during difficult times and maintain the stability of the government. What wasn't understood, however, was such policy and regulations of the media only further destabilized the government and weakened our nation by allowing the corrupt and unjust to reign. The time for censorship has come and gone. Now is the era of a free press. Same idea. It looks like the same event. So pause. Uh-oh. I'm really gonna have to tweak the Nightbot, because that shouldn't happen. That really should not happen. Yeah, revolution delayed, ended, or delayed, question mark. You good, Buzz? Are you good? Alright, just making sure. Oh, they took out Onega already. Good sign so far. Even got an encirclement somehow. And then I think they just lost a couple troops. We'll go ahead and move to a civilian administration, reduce administrative strain. President Yeltsin's reforms have already affected much of West Siberian society, but they've still not taken place under the military regime. It's not enough to change the highest authority in the system. In order to have a proper government, civilian authorities need to be in power at every rank of the government. Otherwise, the conflicts of interest between the military and the nation could very well lead to corruption and a renewed despotism. We'll see in a second. Generals currently serving in government posts will be dismissed and replaced with qualified civilian candidates. Active military members will no longer fill what should be elected positions. These measures may be dramatic, but they are the only way to ensure that the new government does not devolve into a junta with a thin democratic veneer. Understandable. They own Onega. They're not at peace, though. Can they do it on... They're making gains on their own. I'll keep a bit more of an eye for now. Because they're actually doing okay push-wise. Actually, I take it back. I take it back. I very much take it back. Well, actually... I mean, they're taking a couple more casualties than Finland is, but... It's Russia. The whole doctrine is to throw troops at the problem until it stops. Now the problem is, will the AI be coded to take the first peace deal they're offered? Because that has happened before. But that just might be an issue regardless. And we might not be able to, even if we do something, it might not do much to change that. I know, they're doing it! Save? I might do that real quick after I select the next focus. Let's read the parties up. For democracy secured in the nation, it's time to open up the political scene to allow political parties to rise once more. New and varied political parties are vital to the continued success of democracy in the nation. The people don't have parties with which they can identify and express their political opinions. Not of use in democracy at all. It would simply be a representation of the elite who control the largest parties. In any event, this occasion will be a momentous one in our history. Long live the Republic. Now I'll go with save real quick. Just to see what ends up happening. But, so far so good, I'm impressed. Now it's stagnated out a little bit. Okay, tag Finn. I'll ease it along a little bit. Just a little bit. I'll take half of their troops out of the equation. Yeah, I'm surprised how the brother just managed. Polska's doing great. Look at that. I didn't even look over. My God, but that's great. I won't do much more than that. I'll help them do that. That's probably the most I want to do. Let's see if I can handle it from there. In the actual Polska isn't doing too odd, but over here, look at that. That was just nice. Do I have any more left in this? I do too. Okay. We can ensure army representation. Guess we kind of have to. So, new government is thoroughly civilian regime, but the army clearly needs some role. President's discussion with Patov has eliminated the necessity of cooperation between the differing sections of a state as West Siberia transitions into a democracy. Alienating the army is very dangerous. With some effort, it could be made into an ally of democracy rather than an opponent. The Parliament of a young republic will always have some form of military representation in order to better ensure good relations between it and the elected government. These will serve as a bedrock of stability inside our institutions. If civilian rules go off the rails, the military can step in to protect the system and national security. As the West Siberian Republic is still in danger of threats from without and within, the arrangement has great potential. Well, they're working out. We'll see. So it's like Kubashek is in charge over here. Not quite. It's not the whatchamacallit. We don't have Ornament Progresso added, so it's not. We're not gonna get Brazilian events. Yeah, look at that. They're pushing through. They're kind of struggling now. Ah, motherfuckers. I think the AI is probably just coded to take it. If only I had more when to get that one chunk of land. That would be neat, yeah. Instead we got Yagoda. I'm not sure if it's going to stay Yagoda or go over to Besanov. I mean, it went over to Decemberists over here after a bit. So, let's get some checks and balances in. No true democracy considered itself as such without the implementation of a proper system of checks and balances. Nah, it's not that big a deal. I think it's just the AI is going to be coded to take that peace deal anyway, because I haven't seen them. I don't know if I've ever seen the AI take the whole thing. I might just be mistaken, but I don't think they're capable of doing it. I think they might just be coded to take that little bit and then there. And plus, I don't want to put Karelians through that. They're better off under the Finns. Probably. No true democracy can consider itself as such without the implementation of proper system of checks and balances. Checks and balances ensure that the power is never centralized too much in the hands of one individual or a group of individuals, such as needed in our republic with the army. Despite having already transitioned formally into a republic, the army still holds great sway in the nation's politics. We should work towards stripping away some of that power, perhaps coming to an agreement with the heads of military to make it so. I think they should add that, but I put that more on the devs for not adding that. I think ideally, here's what they should do. Though all of West Siberia gets the option, of course. They should add it so that if anyone in West Russia, if West Siberia, any of those guys end up unifying the region, they should get the option to have a little discussion with Finland to discuss the terms. If they own all of Karelia already, I don't see why they give it back. If they only have Onega or there's the autonomy going, they should be able to negotiate and figure out something. If someone wanted, or the AI or the player desired to take it back. Because I think that would lead to some pretty interesting stuff. Let's get artillery going. A third winter war, perhaps, might be a little excessive, but I think it might be a fun little bit of TV. Like, West Russia has signed a peace, but the other three regions have. Yeah. And I don't think we need to do anything crazy like take over all Finland. I don't think that should be an option if they're going for semi-realism. I get that. And I wouldn't say that they should do that, but they have the options to do so. Ooh. Norway's not doing too hot. It seems. Yeah, exactly. West Russia signed a peace, but the other three regions haven't. At the very least, maybe do like a forceful demilitarization of this area. Execute the traitors. Let's get a shaky foundation laid down. While the Republic is now free and democratic, we still have many problems to deal with from the days of military rule. Most notably of which is extremely low levels of civilian participation in our democracy. Many of our citizens are either unaware or apathetic of their new democratic rights and responsibilities in our republic. It's our responsibility to make sure they become informed about what they can and cannot do in our nation, become active voters, willing to act on their benefit. Russia's right to finish play where... I'm saying not in the warlord phase, when they're still reuniting everything. Because all this, you know, that's Russian or Karelian. You can get that integrated pretty quickly. Not so much like this area or this area. You're going to deal with a lot of unrest, and I think it'll just be easier. It makes more sense to only take this from a Russia's point of view in a warlord era. Now, are some people probably going to want to take over Finland if they take over? Yeah. But that's something that I think should probably be held back for TNO2. And that's the timer for that part.